Goeiedag, dit is Fries Gereden and welcome on this beautiful spring morning. You can see the first pilots already crash landed on my headlight. So what's the plan today? Well, I'm having a little bit of trouble with my K-bike. So there's this safety measure, like this little indicator light here, burns whenever you are putting the K-bike on the ignition. And what it wants to see is a signal from both the front brake and the rear brake, and then that indicator light goes out. Well, as you can see, I braked and the light didn't go out. I know it's not the rear brake light that's the issue, because if we go over here, you can see it lights up just fine. That was the front brake, by the way. Now it's the rear brake. Doesn't light up at all. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna check the rear brake switch for dirt and all that. Maybe it has to be cleaned, maybe it has to be replaced. We don't know that. I don't know that yet. I've already checked the manual, and the rear brake switch is behind this footrest. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take it off and inspect the rear brake switch. Maybe clean it if it's dirty, or replace it if it's just broken. So that's what we're gonna do. I did check the manual. The manual says that after 1986 or so, the rear brake switch is behind this footrest. So I'm gonna take this rest off and see what the switch looks like. Now, taking the guard off isn't, the footrest off isn't hard at all. Just loosening a few Allen bolts, or imbus if you're from the Netherlands, and then you can do an inspection. Now, this bike hasn't been serviced since 2004, as you can no doubt tell by how stuck these bolts are. So I'm thinking the switch is probably corroded or something, but we'll see. So around me the cats are playing very nicely, or not very nicely, but they are playing or fighting, I don't know. Going crazy because spring is coming very early this year. Because we're only February and we're already hitting double digits as far as temperature goes. Now it's these three bolts. You can probably already tell that the footrest is coming loose. You don't need to loosen this one, because that's where the brake pedal is attached, as you can no doubt see. And the brake switch is actually in here. Okay, that's interesting. Probably need to loosen. Okay. Okie dokie. I'll have to loosen two more screws, which you cannot see, I think. No, you can't see it. They're over there. So I'm gonna loosen those as well. Loosen those, so I can actually check that inside of this footrest, because it's not in the gearbox, but it's actually, how do you say it? It's in the actual casting itself. So once again, you don't need to loosen this one, that bolt, because that's where the brake pedal is attached to. And if you loosen that one, then you're gonna be into a world of trouble, because you have to readjust everything. So it's best to leave the brake pedal attached, because if you take it off, you will have to readjust and reset everything, brake switch alignment and all. So that's not really desirable, is it? Alright, so the two extra Allen screws are also loose, loosey goosey, as AVE would say. As you can see, it already comes off, and there we have our brake switch. Just going to set the screws aside. So I'm not sure if you can tell, if you've got no experience with fixing your own bike whatsoever, then well, this is the actual brake switch. As you can see, it's normally opened, meaning that the lights won't burn unless I do this. You can see when I push the pedal in, this little tab goes downwards, causing a little notch. Well, it's not a notch, causing a little point here to go downwards as well, closing the circuit, and then the rear brake light should burn. But that's not happening right now. As far as I can tell, this switch is not corroded or dirty at all. Well, it's a bit dirty, but it's not really dirty or anything. So son of a diddly, once again, as AVE would say, because that means I'm gonna have to replace this little thing. Gonna have to trace the wire to where it goes and call the dealership and see if they've got a switch lying around. Probably doesn't cost too much. Replace the brake switch it is. So we'll see. I'll see you next time when I replace this switch. So for now, I'm gonna put the rest back on and order me a new rear brake switch. So until then, once again.